Okay, guys, I brought the plank over to my bending station, and we're ready to go. My bending station is simply an old scrap piece of 1 by 12, I think it is, that I could clamp my plank to, as you can see here. In the center, I have the hold down. This is just a simple device where the top edge is cut to a curve, obviously, because we're going to be curving our planks this way. And then there's another scrap that protrudes a little bit that you could wedge the strip under to hold it in place. Otherwise, as you bend it, it's going to want to lift up. And I have one of these for each thickness of strip I ever want to bend, and because we're bending 3/64 of an inch thick strips now, this is a scrap piece of 3/64 of an inch thick wood. Also, because we're using Alaskan yellow cedar for our planking, it's a great wood to use, but it is soft. It's soft like basswood, and so in order to protect it, you want to put some scrap pieces on the top before you clamp their ends, as you can see here. This prevents it from getting dented or scratched or damaged. Now you can see I've curved this plank. I've created the bend in it. It's not a severe bend, so the plank isn't in any danger of splitting or breaking. And you do that dry. You kind of put this end in first and then bend it around and clamp it over here. So you got what you think the curve is going to be based on where you put your arrow and your center mark from earlier. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply heat to this. And there are several ways to do this. Everybody has their different tools. You've probably seen some of those specifically for ship modeling out there. It's basically a soldering iron with a fancy curved tip. I don't like to use those. They get very, very hot. I mean, it's basically a soldering iron. And you don't need that much heat. My preferred method is to use a travel iron. Hopefully you guys can see this in the picture. It's a small travel iron. They're cheap, cost around 20 bucks. This one heats up in like 20 seconds. I also keep it on its hottest, nearly its hottest setting, and you can adjust the setting on it, which is good. I think it's set for ironing cotton, actually. Now you could use a full-size iron, but as you see in a minute, there are some benefits to using a smaller travel iron that comes to a nice point like that. So let's get to bending. So it's dry in here now, and I know a lot of people will soak their wood for overnight, hours. They get it good and soaked. I don't find the need to do that. I don't like to do that for reasons swelling of the wood, or it just changes the surface quality, opens up the grain too much. So before I go ahead and apply the heat, I just like to dip my finger, and I know you can't see this, it's off camera, in a cup of water, and then just lightly wet this down a little bit. You don't have to soak it. And I'm just going to wet this strip, and then just apply the iron. Now you can see why I prefer the smaller irons, because you can get them in the nooks and crannies here, and you can see I only have one hold down device in the center, which allows me to apply the heat over a wider area of the strip. It's also good to use an iron because, as you can see, I'm flattening it out, and it works like an iron should. And you don't have to do this for very long. In fact, you can probably, I don't know if you guys can hear a sizzle when I put this on the wet plank, but it evaporates really, really quickly. And you can stop. You don't have to worry about burning the wood at this point, but this iron is very hot. And also remember to keep it away from the rubber of these clamps. I've been there and done that. And you just want to get that heat applied over the entire length here. Get it good and hot. Don't be afraid to take some time. And that's all there is to it. You can see I'm not doing this for very long at all. And we are ready to go. So the other thing I like about using the iron is it stands up like an iron when you're finished. You can just set it aside and not worry about anything catching on fire. Now, normally I wait probably around a minute before I release this because I want the strip to cool down somewhat. And then I'm just going to bring it over to the model and test that we have a nice curve and that everything fits appropriately. So while this is cooling down, let's go back over to the model and we'll test this strip and see how it fits.